Hello, everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline. Another great show for you this week. My guests today are from the Hidden Marietta Tour Company, talking about Marietta, Ohio. Before we get to them, though, just a few announcements. My friends over at Wicked Cat Clothing, spooky season doesn't last just a month. Shop Wicked Cat Clothing year-round to get your horror, paranormal, spooky, and Halloween apparel. Go to wickedcatclothing.com. Shop apparel and accessories now and save 30% off with the code FIRESIDE30. We're also trying out this new partnership with Newsly. Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you'd like, from sports, science, to Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It'll find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. They also have podcasts, so explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. My show, Fireside Paranormal Podcast, is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code FIRESIDE where the eyes are ones. I'll also put that in the description, and you receive 1 month free premium subscriptions. Also, the new edition of American Paranormal Magazine is out. Like I said before, Jose and Angel Gonzalez, who were guests here on the show, have a big feature in that. So if you want to check that out, it would be a great thing to do. Support some paranormal folks out there and our friends, Jose and Angel. I thought it would be fitting for our featured story today to be a story from the Hidden Marietta Expo that was actually put on by the Hidden Marietta Tour Company. So this is Rami.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rami Unger. I'm a novelist from Columbus, Ohio, and last night I stayed at the Lafayette Hotel here in Marietta, Ohio, partly so that I didn't have to do a long drive for the Hidden Marietta Paranormal Expo, and partly because I heard the hotel is haunted. And you know what? It is! I was on the 3rd floor last night with 2 other vendors, Jeff and Caitlin. They're running the Killer's card game booth near the front. Anyway, we were messing around with their paranormal equipment, including a paranormal puck. I have my own dowsing rods, so we use those later. And we're in the 3rd floor hallway, trying to contact the spirit we've been talking to. We think it's a 7-year-old boy. It may be Thomas from the basement, who supposedly hangs out down there. And on the paranormal puck, we're trying to get something out of this kid. We're trying to make some sense, because a lot of what we're getting is we're trying to interpret. And we get 3 words at one point. I forget off the top of my head what the prompt was, what the question we asked was, but we got order, deal, and tick, like the insect. And I thought, and we were like, what the heck does that mean? 2 seconds later, a pizza guy comes by, comes around the corner and down the hall to deliver a pizza, and we're like, oh my God, somebody ordered a pizza. It was a good deal, and I'll be here in a tick. So we were laughing ourselves silly over that one, and there was a family, a dad, a mom, and 2 little girls there with us at that point, just checking out the equipment. So they saw this and they thought that was hilarious too. Later on, we went into my room on the 3rd floor. Small, I think it's a queen or king size bed. Small room, and we started using my dowsing rods to contact something. And we got something, but it identified itself as not being human in origin. Now, if you don't use dowsing rods, there are 2 metal rods that the spirits can supposedly manipulate and answer yes or no questions or point. And over the course of asking these questions, we started to learn that it was never human and that it had malicious intent. Near the end of this, Caitlin, who was using my dowsing rods, started to get affected. And I was filming this on my phone. After I stopped filming, she started laughing uncontrollably. So we were just like, nope, we're stopping. I took my dowsing rods from her, and we did a little like energy thing where we enveloped ourselves in positive energy, and it worked. I was able to sleep in my room without nightmares, and so was she. But it was freaky for a moment because there was something that, at the very least, was mischievous, and if not outright malevolent. So that happened last night, and beyond that, there have been some stuff that could be paranormal on origin. I mean, when I went down to the basement early last night, around maybe 7:30, I got this really weird feeling and didn't want to stay down there. And throughout the building, lights just kept flickering on and off. That could be just electrical. It's an old building, but who knows? It could be spirits.
Thank you so much, Rami. And if you want your story to be one of our featured stories, make sure you email me at firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com. I'd also like to hear from some paranormal investigation groups. I'm trying to put a little thing together, so if you would, reach out to me either on social media or through my email, firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, and talk with me a minute because I want to put something together for the show. All right, I want to get to our guests. Join me by the fire as we welcome Hidden Marietta Tour Company. It is based out of Marietta, Ohio. They said their passion is to spread love and knowledge of history and the paranormal to their guests. They offer multiple events and various locations, along with weekly ghost trek tours, as well as a curiosity shop located in the Anchorage Mansion. We got Karita Miller and Viva. You guys with us?
We are.
Yes, sir.
I say, guys, ladies, are you with us?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We are here.
Welcome, welcome. And thank you for sitting with me as I butchered the intro of this. Now, those of you listening are never going to know because I'm going to cut it all out, and that's the joy of not being live right now. But,
Yay.
but we know. All right, Hidden Marietta Tour Company. Tell me about you.
Who wants to go? You or me, Viva?
I'll let you go, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So we are based out of Marietta, Ohio. Our main office is in the Anchorage Mansion. And we have a curiosity shop there that is open right now just on weekends starting in May. But our main passion is doing history tours with a little bit of paranormal sprinkled in. So we hold big events, like we have the Paranormal Expo that I know that you came to in January. We do that once a year right now. And we also have the Blennerhassett Island overnight, which is one of our favorite events. We actually have a ferry take us out and drop us off with our guests, and then we camp there. It's a spooky haunted island, tons of activity, and we're actually stranded until the following morning.
Ooh.
Yes. And then we do have our own little paranormal investigation team where we like to go to other locations as well. We're really big supporters of small businesses and small groups. So not only do we like to bring people to us, but we like to go out and support the others as well.
That's really cool. Now, how did y'all get started?
So Hidden Marietta itself has operated for several years, I believe since 2008. There was a woman named Lynn who started the company just doing, I think, 2 street tours. And then Jessica Walitza took over in 2015, I believe it was. And she brought in, I think, 7 more tours. And then we slowly kind of came on. I think Viva came in like 2016. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then Megan came in. She actually was with the original owner giving tours. And then I came in 2017. So now the 4 of us, Jessica, Megan, Viva, and me, are owners. We're co-owners of the company. And I don't even know how many tours we have right now. We have so many that we can offer.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Public. we have
so many such a plethora. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was going to say, we actually have such a plethora of different tours that we've been able to kind of dish out to the masses because we keep learning new things about our small little town and about the different places that we get to investigate. And of course, a big portion of what we do is based in the history and doing the research and because at the end of the day, if you don't know the history of a location, then you don't really know how to properly communicate with any spirits that might still be lingering there. So being able to share our historical interests with people that are coming here to town and people that live here with here in Marietta it's always really nice to be able to share that. And then, of course, be able to investigate the paranormal is also a added touch to it all.
Yeah, they definitely go hand in hand. I think just the last few years, people have started to realize that, because we work a lot with historians and historical groups, and it was kind of in the beginning like we were pushed away a lot. And then finally, I think they started coming around like, oh, okay, now we understand. Like, you do put the history out there as well, and it's not just something to try to, get people thrills or whatever. So I think they've come around a lot in the last
I was
going to
ask, like, what is the reception there locally with what you do? You have so many tours that go through, how do they treat you?
It's not bad. I would say that the majority of our guests are from out of town. Honestly, they're, tourists. We do have some locals that come in, and some really loyal locals. And we partner with the historical society locally. That's actually who owns the mansion that we're located in.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So I think that especially Jessica's worked really hard to build a relationship with those groups, and the local historians and everything. So I don't think it's bad. What's your take on it, Viva?
My take would be it has definitely gotten a lot better as the years have gone on. I've been with Hidden Marietta for quite some time, and I've done tours with them long before I started to actually work with Hidden Marietta, and obviously becoming a co-owner now. It's definitely been a trial and error over the years of people kind of understanding that we aren't just out here to try to scare people. We're not out here telling bogus stories. This isn't a joke to us. This is something that we have a love for and a passion for. And all we want to do is share it, and being able to win the trust of a lot of the historians here in town, and a lot of the people, the citizens of Marietta, and the local areas that we get to investigate and everything, being able to have them trust us and trust in us to be able to tell the history correctly, is always a big plus for us, to be quite honest.
Well, Viva, let me ask you this. Where does that passion come from?
The passion overall, I think it's a passion that's within all of us. Of course, you can go to school and listen to a history teacher and read a history book and everything, and hope to God that the information stays. But overall, it's actually kind of like you need to get your hands dirty. You need to go to these locations. You need to actually put in the work to be able to have that passion and be able to bring that passion forward. I have a 14-year-old niece who, in the beginning of me doing all of this, was absolutely terrified. She was just like, Auntie, I don't know how you can do this. This is so scary. And now she has actually grown a love, not only of the different locations that we have to offer here to do tours and do investigations, but she's also grown to love the history about these different places. And I think just being able to instill that into people, even if it's just one person a tour, it really does help us feel like, okay, we are doing the right thing. We're going in the right direction. This is definitely a good idea.
It's crazy how many people come on our tours, like even locals will come on and they're like, I'm 35 and I've lived here my entire life, and I didn't know any of this history or any of these stories that you've told. So that's like really touching when that happens. And like you give them a passion back for their town. It's really cool.
That's really cool. And there's a lot of history in that area.
A lot of history.
Oh,
yeah.
My gosh. Isn't that the truth? There really is. And me not originally being from this area, Jessica as well. Jessica kind of lived all over the place, for lack of better words. But me not being originally from this area and falling in love with it, coming from a big city and ending up in this small little town that I absolutely adore, is that I think that means something. It definitely speaks volumes. Just like Karita said earlier, we do get a lot of people that come into town that are from way out of town, whether they are visiting from just up the river in Point Pleasant or across the country from California. They come here and they come to us to hear the history and also hear the stories and everything. And it's just such a joy for us to be able to offer that to people. And it's wonderful, honestly.
Okay, so I'm ready to hear some stories. What can
Where
you
shall
tell
we
me?
begin?
That's what are your favorite? Like, what is your absolute should we start with your favorite one? What is your least favorite story to tell? We can end with the
Oh,
favorite.
least favorite story to tell.
No,
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
joking. I was joking
I'll
with that
let
one.
you
Nobody wants to
go.
hear the least favorite.
Karita, I have an idea of what yours is, but I'm gonna
My
see
favorite?
if we go. Yeah, your least favorite, I
My
think.
least favorite? What do you think my least favorite is? My least favorite
Winter half
experience
six?
or my least favorite story to tell? See, there's a difference.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because I mean, we have stories that we've like gathered from whether it be, locals or old newspapers. Like we spend hours and hours in the genealogy library going through
wow.
stories. But we also have like our own experiences, things that have happened to us.
Okay.
That we sprinkle in there too. But I think Viva, I think that's my favorite. I don't think that's my least favorite.
That's your favorite? Oh,
That's
okay.
my favorite.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. You think you know somebody.
I know.
So the one Viva was talking about happened on the island, on Blennerhassett Island, which is actually in West Virginia. It's not in Ohio. But that is one of the places that we go and do tours. And like I said before, the island shuts down when we go there. We're dropped off at like 4 p.m. on a ferry, on a boat. And then we stay all night long with like, no street lights, nothing. And I do not spook easily at all. I tell everybody that. Like, I will sit, in an abandoned house by myself, no problem, and just take it in, no worries. But the only time I've really gotten spooked on an event with us was at Blennerhassett Island.
What happened?
So on the island, it was native land, obviously, like much of Ohio and West Virginia was. So we actually camp on top of a native burial ground. They didn't know that whenever the campsites were put in, but now they do. And they have these things that they call the watchers. A lot of the docents on the island see them constantly. And it's just like a giant figure of, a person, but it's like a shadow. It's like a black shadow. So I had not seen them. I'd kind of seen like out of the corner of my eye, things moving in the woods and stuff. But I mean, there is wildlife there, so never really thought much of it. On this particular night, it was like 4:00 in the morning. Me and two of our guides were sitting by the fire, and the wildlife officer was there as well with us. He stays overnight when we stay there just to make sure everything goes okay. And it was pitch black out. So something moves out of the corner of my eye. I turned to look, and maybe, I don't know, like 300 feet away, there is this black figure that's probably like 10 feet tall.
Oh.
And it is blacker than the night. Like it's pitch black out, but I can see this figure darker than the pitch black at night. And you can see its legs separating, like it's slowly walking. And I kind of jumped back a little bit into one of my guides. They saw it the exact same time I did. We gasped. So the wildlife officer, of course, jumps up and he's like, I'm going to go, what was it? And takes off
Let me go check it out.
Right. Which normally I would be like all for that. But in my mind, I just thought, oh my God, it's a bear or it's something that's going to hurt somebody. So I was like, don't go toward that. And then it hit me like, I don't really think there's any 10, 11 foot bears on the island right now. So once I calmed down and realized that it wouldn't be a bear, that it probably was something paranormal, we went and looked up in the trees. He thought maybe, I just saw like the shadow of some kind of an animal. We couldn't find anything anywhere. But it, to me, was exactly what the docents and other guests that we've had on our tours there described. It was just this huge black creature. And I didn't feel like anything negative from it, or I didn't feel unsafe or anything. It just took me back. And then I didn't want him to go toward it because I thought it might be an animal. But other than that, it was really calming. And it's just, that's something that happens to people all the time on that island. And we actually work with a group called Iron City Paranormal out of Pittsburgh. And they have a picture that they took, I think it was a year ago in October, on the island. I'll have to send it to you. And you can see the shadow figure stepping out from behind a tree.
Really? Now,
yeah, it's really cool.
Now, you called it the Watcher, right?
The Watcher. That's what the docents have called it. The docents that actually work on the island during the day.
Okay. And is this something that's seen through the day too, just not at night? Yeah.
The docents that have been there, we're usually there at night, but the docents that work there all the time, they see these figures all the time. They said most often they'll see them like when they're leaving for the day. So they have to get on a boat, obviously, to leave the island. and they'll kind of look over their shoulder and they'll see them standing, in the woods, just waiting, watching them leave.
Wow.
And they said the same thing. They've never felt anything negative from them. They just kind of feel like it's a native spirit. Multiple native spirits just kind of there watching over the island. And that's why they dubbed them the Watchers.
That's very cool.
Mhm.
I never knew that. Never knew that. That's really cool.
Yeah, you've got to come on that event, like for real.
Yeah, that would be fun.
There. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in.
So we actually get to go into the mansion that's on the island. There's several houses that were actually picked up off their foundation and taken over there and put on the island. That were built in like the 1800s, and I think one was 1700 something, wasn't it, Viva?
Wow.
The Putnam.
I'll
get the dates wrong, so we won't even say that. It's been a while since they gave that tour. But yeah, so you have the trees in the land. A lot of people will, come to us and be like, I just built this house and there's things happening in there and I don't understand how, because nobody's died in there. No traumatic events have happened. But I think what a lot of people don't understand is that it's everything around it. It's the soil, it's the wood, it's, nature itself kind of collects that energy.
And that's right. I've seen so many people. I've seen so many people online discussing, is it the house that's haunted? Is it the grounds that haunted? And really, guys, it's both.
Right, exactly.
If something happened on a battlefield and you build a house on top of it, you got soldiers marching through your kitchen.
Right.
And a lot of times,
even,
that's a residual
stuff.
haunt, but there's things like that happen.
Right.
It could be anything.
Right.
All right, so that is your favorite story, right?
That's my favorite. Yeah.
Viva?
My favorite experience.
What about you?
See, here's the thing. The thing about me is that I usually don't get scared very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I can honestly say that I haven't had an experience at any of our locations that I can say have actually scared or like even had me kind of shook a little bit.
Really?
The only place that, honestly, because I feel like the places that we go to, they're so used to us a lot of times that they are kind of just like, oh, it's you again. Hi.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with being, I don't know if you would agree with this, Karita, or Jess or Megan would agree with this, but to be the most sensitive one in the group,
Definitely.
It's definitely a lot easier for me to see things and hear things and feel things and whatnot. So I would say at any of our locations, since I'm used to their energy and they're used to our energy, it's very easy for us to just get along and for us to not be scared.
Okay.
Now, I have gone to Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia.
Uh-huh.
And that place is insane. No pun intended. And I would say that I had, what was that?
I said, get the drums out, the drum sound.
But
I know. But when I went there, I actually had an experience that was pretty prolific. For the most part, every time I go there, something always happens. That's kind of, I guess, my thing. Every single time that I have gone to that place, it's been insane. But this one time, I was actually there with my sister, and we were doing one of the nighttime tours that they have where it's in the dark and flashlights and whatnot. I was walking through a room. It was on a floor, I think the third floor, and it was just recently renovated, and they had a bunch of old furniture, and it looked like an office and everything. As I was walking through this particular room, my sister was walking through in front of me. She walked out of the room, and then I stopped to take a picture in the dark with a flash since nobody else was in there, just to see if I'd catch anything. Now, mind you, there's two ways to actually get into the room. So once the flash went off, I felt as though somebody, like I actually heard somebody walk up behind me really fast. So I turn around thinking it's my sister trying to scare me, and I'm going to be like, yeah, I wish you would. I got bad reflexes. I'll punch you. But when I turned around, there was this very tall man. He was about maybe 6'2", 6'3", standing behind me, but now in front of me since I turned to face him. He was dressed in like early, like I would say like 1920s, 1930s sort of attire. His hair was parted on the right side of his head and it was slicked to the one side. He had a semi-handlebar mustache, very pale, very well dressed. He was just staring down at me and I was staring up at him. And I would say maybe there were about 2 feet between the two of us. So I'm staring at him and he's looking at me and all I could say was, mm-hmm. I didn't know how to exactly respond to this situation. I didn't want to anger him. I got the feeling that I wasn't supposed to be in there because it was his office. So I was like invading his privacy, for lack of better words. So I just said, mm-hmm. And he slowly turned his head and then his body and then disappeared. It's like as if he was walking away. So I turned around and I just kind of, I felt like the entire time I was holding my breath. I turned around and I walked out of the room and everybody was like, "Oh, where were you? We were looking for you." And I just sighed and I'm like, "Oh my God, I almost pooped myself." After I left the room, I was absolutely terrified. Of course, by the time the whole walk through the tour and everything was over and I got to the car, I was like, "Oh my God, that was amazing." But I still feel like I should have probably pooped while I was there or something.
Oh my God.
It was terrifying, but it's definitely something that has always stuck with me. I know exactly how he looks. So if I were to see him again, like if I were to go back, I know exactly the room he was in. I know exactly how he looks. And I wish I had actually gotten more information from him because Lord knows I was very ill prepared to come into contact with him. I thought it was just going to be a simple nighttime tour, but it ended up turning into a lot more than that.
So let me ask you this, when you saw, this entity, how did it look like? Did it look like a real person standing there? Was it an impression? Was it kind of see-through and shadowy? What was it to you?
To me, most of the time, it just depends on their energy. They seem like full-bodied apparitions. So he looked as solid as I am or as you would be.
Wow.
There was, like I said, he was pale. I couldn't see the wall behind him or anything. I could just tell that he was pale. He had dark colored eyes, like maybe a brown color eye, thicker eyebrows, handlebar mustache, like sideburns, kind of mutton choppy, but not really. Like I remember absolutely every single thing about him.
Wow.
And he was just staring at me. And I could not think of any words to say because I knew that I wasn't supposed to be there. That was an administrative office. And the impression that I got off of him was, this is like, kind of like, this is staff only. You're not supposed to be here. So I just said, mm-hmm. And then he disappeared. And then I left the room.
And gone.
Yeah, exactly.
When we go to these places to investigate, like we expect to experience something, but you don't really expect to see something standing in front of you. I mean, that still takes you, no matter how many times you do it, no matter how many times it happens, it still takes you off guard every time.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, the one thing I always stress to people is that whenever they do go to locations, whether it be with us or any other place that they might go to all over the world, you can't go there expecting something to happen.
Right.
I always tell people on my tours is spirits, they were here before you were. They will do what they want when they want to. And it's not a guarantee that something's going to happen. It is a guarantee that you're going to hear stories about the paranormal and you're going to get a lot of history about the building or the particular location that you're going to visit. But there's no guarantee that a spirit is going to touch you or whisper in your ear or anything like that. I think a lot of people come into haunted locations with the expectation that it's going to be crazy. It's going to be like off the wall type of stuff, like you see on Ghost Adventures or like the paranormal TV shows that you see on TV and everything. And that's like, I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact that even though you see it on TV, they have to mush down everything that they've done, maybe within a week time span, into an hour. So
I also think too, like paranormal shows are one of the reasons, like we love them and we love people that do them, but it is one of the reasons that like the historians, I think, especially in our area, were kind of weary of us at first. Just because of some of the things that you can tell are exaggerated and things like that. It's not like that in like a real life investigation. And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Now, when you guys, when you ladies do your tours too, you're not just in regular street clothes and things like that. You dress the part, right? I remember this from the expo. I mean, it looked like we were going back in time.
We did. We really enjoy, for especially our street tours, to dress, in either like a steampunk clothing or Victorian, something like that. It's kind of hard to do that, like on our Blennerhassett trips, when it's Macy's out and we're moving all these camping supplies and. So as a rule of thumb, if it's under, say, 80 degrees and you're on a street tour with us, your guide will most likely be dressed up, which is super cool.
Yeah. You'll definitely get. I was just saying that we, just like she was kind of piggybacking off of what she was saying, we love to dress up. We love to kind of put on a show, and then we love to take pictures. So if you come on a tour with us, we absolutely, of course, once the tour is over, ask for a picture. We're dressed up.
We like to say what we do is edutainment. We like to educate as much as we can, but entertain you at the same time.
Now, what are your favorite locations on your street tours?
Depends on which street tour. We have so many.
Yeah, we have quite a lot. They all have their own different stories and stuff. From like brothels and like bars and of course, we being right next to the Ohio and the Muskingum River, we've had quite a few floods and everything. I honestly couldn't narrow it down.
I think the Lafayette Hotel is a big one for me. That's on our front street tour. Which we hold on Saturdays this tour season. And then we have a Harmer Village ghost trek that's just once a month. And there's a couple different private residences on that tour that are just amazing to me. Like just the history of the home and the, its beauty from the outside is really cool.
Okay. So tell me about the Lafayette. What went on there? Why is that on your tour?
Well, kind of going from where I had talked about us being on the river before. The Lafayette Hotel, obviously, it actually wasn't the first hotel to reside in that spot. The Lafayette Hotel has been there since 1918, but there was a hotel there that was called the Bellevue Hotel, built in 1896. It is kind of like prime real estate, for lack of better words, because it's so close to the river. But with being so close to the river, it's definitely one of the first places to get hit if there is any sort of flood that may occur. It has seen several different floods in its time frame. The worst flood in Ohio history was actually the 1913 flood, which basically most Marietta was pretty much underwater. But the one funny story that I like about the Lafayette Hotel in regards to the floods is that even though the town was pretty much mostly flooded, they ended up opening a bar on the second floor, which is the location of one of their balcony rooms. And people can actually row up on their boats and come by and get a drink. So even with all the chaos of being living through a flood and everything, pretty much a disaster zone for the most part, the Lafayette was still very much determined to make sure that everybody was still able to get their drinks in and still able to have a good time. So I always think that that's a really, really cool story, honestly.
That's fun.
I think my favorite paranormal story with the Lafayette is the Grinning Man.
Yeah.
He's like my favorite.
Details.
With him.
We what?
I said details. Let's hear it.
Oh, okay. So we're not really sure where he came from, but I think the first story that we were ever told of him was a lady at the front desk, kind of counting out the drawer for the night and getting ready to switch shifts. And she just had this urge to look up in front of her into the lobby. And there was a man that was like crouched in kind of a leapfrog position. and it startled her when she saw him there. So she kind of jumped back a little bit, and he grinned. Like, it pleased him that he startled her. And she said his grin was so big, it was literally like from ear to ear. And she was terrified. And then he was gone. And he, I think since that point, has kind of been there. He usually likes to hang out in the basement, and he doesn't like to put up with shenanigans, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's probably the a mild term to put it.
Yeah, but I mean, they have things happen. The basement has like meeting rooms in it, and if they have like kids down there running around, he'll, make a scene. We had somebody on a tour there one time that was really antagonizing and like making fun of him and saying, you're so big and bad, but you can't do anything, because he didn't have anything going on. All of a sudden, this guy kind of yelps and takes off running up the stairs. And he tells his wife that he was slapped. He's like, something hit me in my back. And she was like, no, it didn't. It was only me and you down there. Nothing happened. Well, they pick up his shirt and he has a handprint on his back. He was definitely slapped by something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, the grinning man, we call him that because of his huge grin. We've actually got a picture that we think we captured him as well. One of our tour guides was down there doing an investigation and took a picture, no flash, no nothing. And kind of overlaying one of the guest faces is this very, like, have you seen images of Injured Cold?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like his big grin, like his skinny, narrow face and his big grin, that's what this guy's face looked like. So I don't know if it was a connection, because I mean, a lot of the Injured Cold stuff happened right directly across the river. But Injured Cold's always kind of been played off as, a nice guy, and this guy's definitely not.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it had a connection there at all, but he looks a lot like him.
I have honestly seen him before. Like I said, with kind of having that connection with all of our regular locations that we visit and go to and do tours and investigations and whatnot. I can honestly say, in my point of view, he kind of has a very Cheshire cat sort of smile. Where it kind of just creeps across his face. It's very off-putting, and he knows that he can get a rise out of people. We actually had one of our paranormal expos. This one was it 2020 that we had Dalen there, Karita?
Yes, it was 2020, right before the pandemic.
Yes.
Literally.
So
we talked about the pandemic, and we're like, nah, and then everything shut down. That's great.
Yeah. So we had our paranormal expo in 2020 January, and Dalen Spratt, we had him as one of our paranormal investigator guests and everything. He's with the Ghost Brothers. They're awesome, by the way. We absolutely
super hilarious.
love them.
Give their name again so people can check them out.
Oh, what'd you say?
What was their name again? You're breaking up just a little.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start over. Dalen Spratt, he is actually one of the Ghost Brothers. They actually have several different shows now. The one that me and Karita like the most right now is Fright Club with Jack Osborne and the Ghost Brothers. It's absolutely hilarious. But Dalen was one of our special guests for that weekend, and he actually did an investigation with us and with quite a few people who were staying in the hotel. They got like a package and everything to be able to investigate with him. And it was crazy because we were downstairs in the basement. I was actually with him and this particular group at this point, and we had already discussed, like we had done the tour of the hotel and discussed the paranormal happenings and the history and everything. And we told him about the grinning man, and he was immediately just like, well, that's interesting, but I'm going to try to stay out of his way. I'm not trying to get slapped. And once we actually got down to the basement, it was me, Dalen, and maybe about 15 to 20 people that were investigating down there. And we were just sitting in a circle. We were getting a lot of really intelligent interaction with the questions and with the equipment that we were using and everything. And Dalen had brought his own equipment with him as well, which was awesome. And he ended up seeing someone standing behind the door as if like they were like, how there's that crack between the door and the wall where you can kind of see through. He said he actually saw somebody standing behind there smiling. And he immediately, like completely unprompted, we asked a question and we were waiting for some sort of response on the equipment, and he jumps up and says, "Oh my God, somebody's behind the door. I just saw him." And he runs over there and he checks, and there's literally nobody around. Everybody that was in that particular group was completely accounted for, and everybody else that was in the hotel was accounted for as well. But he said as soon as he saw it, it just completely vanished. It's not like it turned and walked away. It didn't like seem like it kind of ducked down or anything like that. It was just, he saw it and it just disappeared. So that was his experience with the grinning man. He absolutely did not like that. But then, of course, when we were also in the basement, we went into a room down there that the hotel typically keeps locked, but they open it up for us whenever we do investigations. It's the pipe room is what we call it. It kind of, the name kind of speaks for itself. There's a bunch of pipes in there.
What's in there?
But we were all standing. Yeah.
We're really good at
we were
naming
all
locations.
Oh, absolutely. You got to be short, sweet, and to the point, you know.
Right.
But we were standing there and we were just telling him, like, okay, you've been messing with the REM pod all night, and if you want us to leave, we need you to do like something. Like, you got to give us something. And Dalen was like, listen, man, I'm only going to be here this weekend. So if you want me to come back and bring the rest of the Ghost Brothers to come and investigate or whatever, blah, 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 blah. If you want us to leave right now, you need to make yourself known. You need to do something. And everybody in that room heard someone, it seemed like right in the center of the room, go very loud. And when I tell you, everybody's flashlight flipped on so quick. Even he had his cell phone and he didn't have an actual flashlight. So he's like fumbling with his cell phone, trying to get his light to come back on. And he's like, who was that? And everybody was like, oh my God, no, it wasn't us, blah, 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 blah.
Sure it was one of our guests.
Yeah, he thought maybe it was somebody tricking us.
He was hoping.
But ultimately that,
right.
Yeah. But honestly, that is something that tends to happen. People do hear whistling in there every once in a while. So that was pretty prominent for him. And he was like, okay, gotta go. We got to leave now.
Now, is the whistling man and the grinning man the same man?
Same man.
Yes, same man.
It's just an entity that really, and honestly, I don't even know if it was, like a person that's passed on. I don't even think it was ever, I don't know.
Well, you see, the way I see it as well, a lot of people don't realize, like, people get hotels, not just historic and old hotels, but like even a Holiday Inn. People get rooms to have privacy. And you don't know what people are doing upstairs in the room. I know that a lot of people do like to try to bring Ouija boards and stuff like that to different places and everything. And they conjure something that they obviously have no business doing and don't know how to get rid of it. And then that opens up an entire new line of paranormal entities and kind of leaves the actual location a little bit unprotected, for lack of better words,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you have no clue who's in what room doing what. I mean, I watch a lot of true crime and
same.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Criminal Minds is like my favorite show ever. And you never know what kind of folks are where and what they're doing. And man, yeah, who ends up where?
True. And a lot
especially
of people
like
don't
you
think
said
about that either.
Yeah. People aren't thinking. And like you said, with the Ouija boards, you don't know what kind of person. It could be a bunch of kids up there that don't even take it seriously. They're like, let's see if we can get it to move, and then anything can happen.
Especially with Lafayette being, as old as it is, being right on the confluence of the two rivers and just having that much. I mean, the streets are brick, around it, below the concrete. And it's just insane, the amount of history that's seeped in around it. So it's definitely got some fun things going on in there.
Now, would you say sorry, go ahead, Viva, and then I'll ask my question. Okay,
sorry. I was going to say, and then on top of that, just knowing that particular area was inhabited by Native Americans and that area was actually very spiritual for them. And it is known that water can be a conductant to spirits being able to move to and fro. So I think that the fact that it is on the confluence of both of those rivers does play an aspect into how it is so paranormally charged at times.
Definitely.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Would you say that the Lafayette is the most haunted building there in Marietta?
No.
Okay, that's a hard no. So
that's a hard no.
It's and I don't know that most people don't realize this about Marietta, but like I was talking about the brick streets and just the history, like we're the first, settlement in the Northwest Territory. The history here is just insane. And then a lot of the buildings, especially our churches, were made, from clay from the natives' mounds. And the buildings themselves, I mean, I honestly wish buildings could talk and just tell us what they have seen and, what they have within them. But the whole town, you don't even have to be in one of our buildings. You can be walking down one of our streets and have an experience. Like it's the whole town.
I agree.
So could you pinpoint a most haunted location, or are you just going to say it's Marietta? Marietta is the most haunted thing in Marietta.
In general, honestly. We have
it really is.
I mean, the Anchorage mansion where we have our shop is extremely active. I mean, to the point where we go in and we say hi to the spirits that we know that are there. And, they mess with us the whole day. And it's not even something that we freak out about anymore. You know what I mean? Like we barely even notice it because they're so often that something happens when you're there.
What do you mean by they mess with you?
Oh, they'll throw a picture off the wall. Like, was it last summer we were working in the shop and we have Kelly Bryant's one of our local artists does paintings for us, and we had sold a picture, I think of Edgar Allan Poe that was hanging up on the wall.
Yeah.
So I took a picture of Frankenstein, right, and hung it up in that spot. And it hung there for, a couple hours, no big deal. Then all of a sudden it literally flings off the wall across the room.
Yep.
And we tried so hard. We put it back up. We were stomping our feet. We're not little girls. We're pretty big. And we were stomping and dancing throughout the house trying to make this happen again and could not make it happen. They'll do things especially with some of our customers that'll come and do an investigation in the mansion. One of my favorite stories is of a guy that came in with his girlfriend and they had this spirit box out. And we have a couple little girls, spirits of little girls in the mansion. And I told them, sometimes I can turn this on and I can say, say hello. And one of them will do it. They'll say hello right back. So they had went upstairs. They paid for a half-hour investigation. Not even 3 or 4 minutes in, the guy, I hear loud footsteps running down the stairs. He slams open our shop door. The spirit box goes flying across our counter at me. He goes and locks himself in the car. His girlfriend walks in laughing, so hard she's crying. And I'm like, what is wrong? What happened? Is he okay? And she said, well, I was videotaping, because we do tell them, whop out your phone. That's a really good piece of equipment to have during an investigation. Flip it on airplane mode, use your voice memo, use, just recording pictures or whatever, but use it so you can go back later, and review it. So she was doing a video of him. He had the spirit box. He walked into one of the rooms that we, call a hot spot. And he said, Henrietta, if you're in here, say hello. Probably 30 seconds go by and you hear a little girl say, hello. And he lost it. He freaked out. So she went out and tried to talk to him. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you only got to investigate for a couple minutes. And he was like, keep my money. I don't want it. I'm not coming back in. We're done. It's over. But that's just funny that they do that a lot. And I think they get kind of used to us, being in there and having people come in. And we always try to treat it when we do bring people in, just treat them like you're meeting a person standing in front of you. Introduce yourself, say I don't mean any harm to you or anything like that. And they will communicate with you. We have one spirit.
Definitely.
We do. But that was my funniest, I think. I mean, I understand why his girlfriend was crying when she was laughing, because I said, what did you want her to do? Because he wouldn't even come back inside.
She just did what you asked.
Exactly. I said, what did you want her to do? And he was like, I don't know, but I said, say hello. And she said hello. And I was right. That's what you asked her to do. But he lost it. He freaked out. So I don't think a lot of people think that those things are, I mean, and they're not always going to happen. So you shouldn't expect that, but it's pretty funny when they do. But they do things like that. They do, I mean, when we're doing renovations, they mess with stuff. We have the spirit of Eddie that's there, that he was actually the longest private homeowner of the mansion. We painted one of the rooms was painted pink because it was sponsored by the Pink Museum. And we were on the spirit box with Eddie, and I asked if he liked the room, and he was like, yeah. And I said, do you like the color? And he said, not my first choice. Like, you could just tell he was like bummed that it was bright pink. But I mean, it's just great that they communicate with you. So that happens all the time, constantly.
See, and just to add to that a little bit as well, the one thing that I love, since we were just talking about Eddie, Eddie McTaggart is his name, or Edward McTaggart to be proper. The one thing that I love about Eddie is, obviously we do have 2 little girl spirits that are there at the house, but he absolutely loves children. And when he was alive, he never married. He didn't have any children or anything. So the neighborhood kids would always come over to the mansion to sled down the hill, and they would drink hot chocolate with him, and he would bring them inside. Trick or treat. Yeah, it's like there were so many stories about Eddie, and it's to the point where now our kids can go to the mansion and interact with him, because he loves the children. He loves when kids are there, and he doesn't try to scare them or anything. Nope. He's very gentle, very kind with them, and very understanding that if they are not ready to speak to him, then he will not try to push it. My niece that I had spoken a little bit about earlier on, I think she was about 12 or 13 when this happened, but I took her to the Anchorage, and she wanted to use the spirit box for the first time, and she's like, I want to talk to Eddie. I want to see if he'll talk to me. And we were using the spirit box, and we weren't getting much interaction or anything. A few voices here and there, but we couldn't quite figure out exactly what anyone was saying. And I just was like, okay, well, Eddie, we're about to leave soon. If you want to say anything, you need to say it now, because she really was looking forward to talking to you. And on the spirit box, you can actually hear I know his voice, it's very distinct. I heard him say, I'm sorry. And then she was kind of just like, oh my goodness, it was Eddie. And I was like, okay, Eddie, well, we're about to leave. Can you at least say hello or say goodbye or say her name or anything? And he said, hello, Amaya. And that was enough for her.
Wow.
So just to be able to know that he is very intelligent. And like I said, he absolutely loves all of our kids that come there, and any child that comes there. So I think a lot of people do have a misconception of when they see it. Obviously, the mansion is very intimidating looking. But overall, once you, especially when you bring kids and stuff, obviously if your kid's not ready, then please do not bring them to any place like that. But with our location in comparison to other places, I think that we would definitely be a good starting point for a kid that's interested in the paranormal, that doesn't really want to go to Allegheny and doesn't really want to go to the Moundsville prison or anything, because a lot of them are very, very kind and very sweet.
All right. So coming into a close here, I want to make sure folks know how to get to you. So what is the best way to get to, Hidden Marietta? Do you have a Facebook page? Do you have a website? What is your best way to contact?
We have everything. We have, our website is hiddenmarietta.com. We have Facebook, Hidden Marietta, Instagram, Hidden Marietta, and Viva has recently started our TikTok.
Come on.
So we have that as well. I would say that one of those, one of our social media outlets or the website would probably be the easiest way to get a hold of us. Right now, we're still on off season. We don't open our shop until May 6th. Our street tours start in June and run through October. We're always open for private tours, anything like that. But as far as being at the mansion available, we don't actually start that till May 6th. The mansion is it's going through renovations, and that's kind of all us. It's volunteers with us in the Historical Society. So we do have to take some months off in the wintertime to work on that. But
And you said you do private tours too. Like how?
we do private tours, private investigations.
Yes.
So during like get on the Facebook group or whatever and message you and you can schedule that for them?
Yes, or go to our website, hiddenmarietta.com, and all the information's there, pricing, availability, anything like that. If there is, a certain date that you have in mind, we can even take you out to the island for an overnight as a private group. So just send us a message and let us know what works for you, and we try our best to accommodate, every person, every group. We are obviously a very small business, and we like spreading, like I said, spreading our love and knowledge of history and paranormal to anybody that wants to learn about it.
What size group do you prefer?
Exactly.
We don't care. As long as it's 4 people, it makes it worth our guide.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we don't care.
Yeah, we at least maybe 4 people. But honestly, we've had groups of 30. We've had people. We've actually had schools contact us to do history and paranormal tours for students, at high school age students and everything. So we've had 30, 40, 50, obviously I think 50 might be the cap really, but
yeah.
But honestly, you give us the information and we will accommodate as best as we possibly can.
Very
And to
cool.
do investigations with us, you don't have to be a paranormal group either. I mean, you can come in and use our equipment and we'll walk you through the ropes and show you how to do it and how it works. We like teaching people, and we're an all women owned company, which is kind of rare in the paranormal world. So we really like getting more people, especially women, into our area to learn about the paranormal.
So and you see, with that as well, I, not to toot my own horn, beep, beep, but I'm the only African American. I always will toot my horn. I'm the only African American in our Hidden Marietta group, and I think that is also a rarity
in the paranormal field.
Yeah, I feel like that's also a rarity. Of course, with the Ghost Brothers and everything, they're pretty dope and everything, and I love their content and what they put out and everything, and the way that they kind of go past that whole narrative of what is supposed to be who is supposed to be interested in the paranormal, but just the simple fact that I am out here doing this and I love it and everything, and I feel like that just kind of just proves to people that you can come from all walks of life, no matter your gender identity, no matter your religion. If you have a love of the paranormal and the history, then we're definitely the ones to go to, because we know a thing or two.
Know a thing or two about a thing or two. I like it.
Exactly.
The website is hiddenmarietta.com. Check that out. Go check out all their social medias. Add them, support them. I mean, small businesses everywhere need a little support, right? So y'all do your part. Give them some love. And Karita Miller and Viva, I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for spending a little time with me. And, we did the expo and all that kind of stuff. I've really enjoyed getting to know you ladies. So we definitely will be talking again.
Well, thank you for having us.
Don't be strangers. We appreciate it so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You have a great night.
You too.
You guys too.
Bye. And with that, the fire is out. Thank you so much, ladies, for all you do. Thank you all so much for listening. Give me a little bit of your time every week. I want to remind you to check out all of our social media presences. So Instagram, Facebook at Fireside Paranormal Hub. If you listen to the show and you don't link up on that, you are missing out on half the fun. A lot of our past guests are very involved there. They like to communicate and talk with y'all. So if you have any questions for any of our past guests, chances are you can connect with them there. We've been having a lot of fun on TikTok, Twitter, at Fireside Parapod, Parapod. And make sure you check out firesideparanormal.com. Be sure to get on there and get yourself some of that sweet, sweet Fireside Paranormal merch. You want some t-shirts, and goodness, there's all kinds of fun stuff on there. We are out of time, so until next week, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.